Hey everybody, I just got this Meat Swaddle. It is a sleeping bag for your meat. So we're gonna try it out. Apparently the surefire way to check if your brisket is full of fat and a good brisket is to see if it bends in half in its vacuum bag, which this one does. So we'll get it out of the bag and we'll give it a trim. So I've got the brisket out of the bag. See all the silver skin here? We're going to trim all this off here. I've got a little helper behind me, as you can see on the floor, hoping for scraps. So get the silver skin trimmed off. It won't render down and leaves apparently a little bit of a taste on it. So get that off. I'll show you some hard spots. There's usually this, I'm working on the, that's the tip. The flat is the big wide end. That corner is really thin, so we're going to trim that off. Try and cut it in a curved fashion. It'll get burnt while it's smoking because it's so thin. So we just cut it off anyways. And curved because it apparently helps with airflow in the smoker flowing over the meat, which sounds crazy, but it's what the big boys say. That area right there, there's usually a hard piece of fat that needs to be trimmed off, but the butcher's already gotten it off, so flip that over. There's the other hard piece right there. That's really hard fat. It won't render down, so we'll trim that off. And then that edge of the brisket is it's got brown on it, and apparently that's due to something that's done in the processing facility. So we'll trim that off as well. And because this is going to be smoked on a pellet stove, we want it at 225, and I am going to season it because it doesn't get quite the flavor that it would. See the grain there? That's the way the grain runs. So we cut perpendicular to the grain, just as a marker, so I know that when we're done we can slice that direction. And that fat is pretty thin, so we're not going to take it all off. I'm just going to trim off the thick stuff. That's what I trimmed off right there. So not a lot. I left it. It's really thin. I ripped through in a couple spots. So we're just going to season that up and get that in the fridge overnight, I think. And then tomorrow we'll put her on the smoker and we'll see how she goes. This is the smoker. So I put the brisket on first thing this morning. Still dark out, so I didn't videotape it because really you're not going to see anything. Yesterday, in the fast-forwarded portion of the video, I was talking about the 225, and I believe I interrupted myself to talk about something else. So 225 on a pellet smoker is a good temp for brisket. On a big belly smoker, like a professional wood smoker, hotter is a little bit better. Pellet stove also, I mentioned yesterday that pellets, I believe I did, pellet stove doesn't impart as much flavor as a real belly stove like a wood smoker, so I seasoned it yesterday because of that. Not just salt and pepper, like I gave it a Traeger rub, and then I smoked it this morning for an hour just on smoke, not with a temp, so it was at about 140 in smoke for an hour to make up for my non-professional grill. This also, today we're gonna cook it too. So midway through the cook, there's something called there's a stall temp. So the meat evaporates moisture, and the temperature actually starts to hang in a range for a long period of time. That's called a stall temp. That's a lot of times when people will wrap their meat, they'll base it on a time or a temperature. we're not going to do that. We're going to finish it to a temperature, to an internal temperature, but when we wrap, we are going to wrap it based on its moisture loss. So 30 to 40% moisture loss is perfect for a brisket. We don't want to lose that bark, so we're going to wait till most of the moisture is gone and then wrap it really tight, and then we should have that crunchy, nice bark. So what I did was count the number of grill bars that brisket is sitting on. It's sitting on 30 grill bars. So we'll multiply 30 by 0.7 and we get 21 grill bars. So we'll just keep an eye on the bark and how many grill bars it's taking up. So when it gets down around 21, we will probably wrap her up and call her good. See you guys in a bit. Hey, so it's been about 4 hours. I'm using Kirkland competition blend, just the cheapies. Obviously, also a cheapie stove. I got some spritz here. I'm gonna start doing this now, just on the meat. There is some malt vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, and Maggi secret. So, you don't want to spray the fat. A lot of people spray the fat, and really, there's no point in doing that because you don't want the fat. You want the fat, to render. You just want to spray the meat, really. Just add some moisture. Should actually put a pan in here as well. I'll grab a pan with some liquid in it, and we'll get that in there for a bit too. Hey guys, so I have my pan here with a little bit of water and some of my spritz juice. I flipped the brisket just to move the heat over on a pit boss is on this side, so I moved it over away from the heat. And it's pretty difficult that light. We're looking pretty tasty. I think we've got another hour or so, probably, at least, uncovered, and then we will give it a measure and we'll get it wrapped up. Okay, so let's pretend I'm not filming this on my phone. I pulled the brisket, I measured it, felt it, the bark looks great. You're going to see it in a second. I'm just going to rip off some foil here. It's going to be easy, because it always is, right? Oh, that one worked out pretty good. So put the foil down, get the gloves on. I'll bring the brisket over. You can have a quick look at the bark. And you can't smell it, unfortunately, through video. But if you could, it smells like beef bacon presently. It looks like it's lost 30 to 40% of its moisture. The bark looks really good. The tip is tender. The flat still needs a little bit more, but it should be perfect. So, color's great. That's the bottom there. Flip her over, fat side up. Looks great. We'll wrap the foil one way. I'm taking the gloves off because they have fat all over them, grease on them, and I don't want to get grease on the outside of the foil and then get that on the inside of my brand new swaddle, which I can wash, but I'd rather not after the first use. See how it goes. I did spritz the brisket every 30 minutes-ish from the time I showed it to you till this point. 2 more pieces of foil. I just poked my finger through the bottom of that first piece and burned it, my finger. So we'll go 2 this time. All of this stuff is from Costco. The foil, the brisket, the pellets. It's kind of, oh yeah, fighting with foil. That's what I'll do next, a video of fighting with foil. Watch a 46-year-old fight with foil, aluminum foil. It's heavy duty though. I mean, that's something. Just get those doubled up. Get the brisket back on there. And try and wrap her up nice and tight. Try and keep the moisture in it. And then I put it back on the smoker with the temp probe in it. And I'm looking for 203 degrees. And then I will pull it, stick it in the swaddle, and it should come up to around 215, 213, and be perfect. And then I'm hoping to get a couple hours in the swaddle, but it really depends on the rest of the family and how hungry everyone is. It may only get an hour, but we will do that together and have a look. So this is sort of how this all started to begin with, was me buying my meat swaddle, my meat sleeping bag. The brisket is at 203, which is exactly what we're looking for. So I will pull it off and we will wrap it together. The onion that you guys saw in the video, by the way, in the smoker, I'll lie about it and just say it was to add flavor. That. So we will leave it for probably 2 hours and then cut into her, see how she looks. The grand reveal. Dog's up. Oh boy. I don't know if we can do this by hand. Try and save that. I'm not sure how. Maybe I don't want to. So that is that corner I cut off. So the grain's going this way. So we'll cut this. We'll cut the flat this way, and then the point should be right around probably there. It's got to be flipped 90 degrees and cut that way. But because there's only 3 of us eating, I'll do this. Start with some of this, and we'll see how we end up. I might have to sample this end. No way, dog. No way. What's hot? See that smoke there? All right, we're pretty good. These pieces on the flat should be pencil thick. I think that's a little bit of a thick pencil. it's a thick pencil. That looks really good though. Ooh. It tastes good. Over the finger test. What do I have to say? Go make one.